Well, hello, partners in crime. This is Vinney Chopra, your host, your weekly host for the Apartment Syndication Made Easy. As you know, the book I wrote, and some of you have really liked it. A lot of great comments. I just thought, let's just do a show on that one. Then also my new book just came out, guys. Hey, I hope you have picked up a copy just last week. That's Positivity Brings Profitability. And, this mind is about this body or mind and soul or whatever I can say. It's about mindset, who we are. And I'm so excited to have a great friend of mine right here today, Jeffrey Holst. We're going to be digging into his mind and how he's been so successful and how the things have really turned in the last 10 years or so, or, what hardships he's gone through. Because in life, we don't just, it's not a smooth sailing. And a lot of people ask me that, Vinney, you smile a lot, always, right? But you know what? We get depressed also. We all do. And we need to be realistic about it. Let me introduce you to Jeffrey. Hi, Jeffrey. How are you, brother?
Hi, Vinney. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you again for taking the time to be on my show. And, we are just kind of saying this show as a suggestion, how I became financially free after hitting rock bottom.
Yeah.
Rock bottom. So everybody who's listening to us, grab your pen or pencil and, write down some good things which can really make a big difference at the end of the show that can really help you and, get it out of the situation that you might be in or you have seen yourself. Love to kind of introduce Jeff. Jeff is a recovering attorney, a full-time real estate investor with more than 250 residential units and several commercial properties. He's co-host of the Old Fashioned Real Estate Show, amazing show with Jeffrey and Jillian, Sidoti, my good friend, both of them. And I was on their show lately also. That was very nice.
Well, you've actually been on both of my shows, right? So you've been on the Old Fashioned Show with Brian and I, and then also on Jillian and I's show, The Last Life Ever. So
that's right.
Yeah, it's great. It's been fantastic having you on those shows. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. Now this one is really cool. The Old Fashioned Real Estate Show, where they mix bourbon, old fashions, and real estate investing. I love that. I know you kind of recorded during the day.
Yeah.
You have too many
it gives us an excuse to drink during the day. So,
I would love to come.
Yeah. Well, we'll get you on again sometime when we're in the same room, and then we can drink together.
That'd be amazing. That'll be terrific. I would love that. And of course, they mix bourbon, old fashions, and real estate investing. In February of this year, Jeff climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, the highest mountain in Africa. Yeah.
In Africa. Oh.
Yeah. So February, it took 8 days to climb it, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, 19,000 feet. So.
Oh my gosh, 19,000. I know Mount Everest. I come from India.
Yeah.
That's the biggest, probably.
Well, that one's about 10,000 feet higher than
I am.
Higher than that.
Yeah. But this is a big feat in itself.
Yeah.
Kilimanjaro right there, and stood at the highest point in Africa. Love it. He's also the co-host and founder of the Last Life Ever podcast with Jillian, and is passionate about helping people live the best possible version of their last life ever. Welcome to the show, Jeff, buddy. I just want to ask you, tell us more about where you grew up and your humble beginnings and how you got into law, and then how these hardships, like you hit the rock bottom, how
Sure.
mindset has taken you to the newest heights of success.
Yeah. So the short version of my life is I grew up, middle class. My dad was a lawyer. So we had more opportunity than a lot of people. I'm very blessed from that. My parents divorced though when I was in high school. And I kind of was sad about that, like you would be. And when I was 17, I don't know if I was clinically depressed, but I wasn't happy. Right. And one day I just decided I didn't want to have bad days anymore. And since then, 25 years now, a quarter century, I've never had a bad day. I always just tell myself every day when I first started out, today's a good day. Even if I didn't believe it, I just said it out loud. And I just kept doing that. And after a while, I remember one time I walked into a 7-Eleven and the guy behind the counter said, "How you doing today?" And without thinking about it, it just sort of came out of me. I said, "I never have bad days." And then I realized I really didn't have bad days, and I haven't had one since. So that was in the summer of, well, it was 25 years ago. So it was when I was 17. So whatever year that was, I guess 95 or 96, somewhere around there.
Wow. Hold on. So some people listening to us might say that, oh my gosh, you just made up your mind. You committed to not having a bad day. So how did, change you? How did you really react to the bad days at that time?
Yeah, so it didn't happen immediately. I mean, the first day I said, today's a good day. Today's a good day over and over again. Still didn't have a great day. I still had bad stuff happen to me, like we do. We all have good and bad stuff happen to us every day, every week, every year. This year, I think a lot of people are having a lot of struggles. And it would have been a lot harder. I have a friend who's a recovering alcoholic, and she told me about coronavirus. She said, if this had happened my first 6 months of sobriety, I probably would be back to drinking. But, you build a muscle. She's a big part of her identity is that she's a former drinker. And so after 8-9 years of not drinking, coronavirus wasn't going to push her back to drinking. Yeah. And that's kind of how it is with bad days. If something bad happens to you the first day when you try to give it up, it's not necessarily going to just go away. But after a while, it's kind of like when you get a new car and all of a sudden everyone seems to be driving that car. You train your brain to look for that car. Well, you just train your brain to look for the positive stuff in your life instead of the negative. And you just start spotting more and more. I'd get in my car would start and I'd say, "Hey, my car works. It's a great day," And then if my car didn't start, my mind would have said, "I'm so glad mechanics exist, so someone can fix my car." It's just about finding the positivity in whatever it is that you're doing. And listen, a lot of people say, "Well, that's easy for you to say. You grew up middle class, you're an attorney, you've had all this great stuff happen, you've had a lot of blessings." And I certainly have, but it hasn't been all easy either. When I was practicing law, 2008, I was diagnosed with leukemia. And I was right after I started practicing law. I was a bankruptcy attorney. I was in my second year of practicing bankruptcy law. And I got this call at 10 o'clock at night. Said, "You've got to come to the hospital right now. You have leukemia." My white blood cell count was very, very high, like 250,000. And it's supposed to be 4 to 11,000. And the only thing I knew about leukemia was that I had this young cousin who had died a few years before that. And her white blood cell count was 150 when she died. And so I'm hearing 250 and I'm like, I am toast. I believed that I was going to die. And for the next, it wasn't that long, maybe 3 or 4 days until my official diagnosis came back. I was under the impression that I was absolutely going to die. And some people would say, well, that would be a bad day, but at that point, at that point, I had been, 13 years of good days, and I was used to finding positive in everything. We had a guest on Last Life Ever for Memorial Day whose son died in Afghanistan, and he said to get over that, not that you ever get over it, but to find his way through that grief, he was committing himself to find 3 positive things that happened because of that. Wow. And he did do that, and he started a charity to help veterans, and I didn't do it quite as systematic as him, but I did that same thing. I looked for positive. I was in the hospital the first night, and one of the nurses was a childhood babysitter of mine. I hadn't seen her in 10 years. And I remember thinking, it's so great to see Shelly. I said, "Shelly, I'm so happy to see you." And she said, "Oh, I'm really not happy to see you," because I was in the hospital and she thought I was dying, like everyone else in the hospital. And I said, if I die, I die. I've done a lot of great stuff. But I got to see you at least one time. That's where my mind was that day. And I think she thought I was crazy, but I think you have to look for positive. You just have to find positive things. And if you do it long enough, it becomes second nature. If Vinney Chopra comes to me and he says, "How are you doing today?" You know what I say? "I'm doing awesome." it's a great day. I don't think about it. That's just me. That's a part of me. It's part of my identity now.
Excellent. Excellent. What you just said, Jeffrey, is so important that, how we look into within ourselves and how we really mindset. It's so important. We got to set the mind to look for the positives. That is so important. We always say, every dark cloud has a silver lining. So that silver lining, that gold lining, that diamond lining is there, and we need to just train our mind. What you're just talking about is so important. And, again, a lot of people ask me also, Vinney, oh, you're so positive, and you smile and this and that. But it took time. It took effort. Just like you were saying, when you made up that mind 25 years back, not to have a bad day, I hope the audience will look up to, and watch us and say, you know what, I am done with the bad days.
Oh, I hope so too. I do. I really do. That's why I come on shows and talk about this stuff. I mean, this is a real estate show. I mean, I'm a real estate investor, but this stuff is so important. It's even more important than the real estate. And I tell people all the time, they say, well, that sounds really hard, or I wish that would work for me, or, they have all these excuses. And I just say, try. And you know what? If you try to have good days and you fail, you probably wouldn't have had a good day anyway. So you're not really out anything. But if it works, it changes your life. And even if it works most of the time, maybe someone tries to give up bad days and they have 10 good days and then they have one bad day. Well, that's still pretty good.
Oh my God.
10 good days, one bad day, not a bad ratio. Most people have more bad days than good days. That's what I see in the world. But there are people like me, there are people like you that really, I mean, I'm not going to speak for you. You might have bad days some days, but on the whole, you're not having bad days. You're having positive things happen to you. You're finding positivity. And like the title of your book, Positivity Makes Profitability, it's so smart. And when I heard you telling us about that on our show, I was like, I need to have Vinney on again to talk just about this book, because it's just such a great point. And I really believe that's what happened to me. And you know what? Filing bankruptcy was way worse than the leukemia thing. I kind of blew my line there by telling you that, but I was just starting out practicing law, and I had this law firm, and one of my attorneys quit the week before I was diagnosed with leukemia. So I went from 2 attorneys to 0 overnight, within a week. And we had staff that we had to pay, and we had phone book ad contracts and television ad contracts. We're trying to grow a law firm. We were just starting out, and it would cost me about $6,000 a week to break even, and we had $0 coming in for like a year, right? And I ended up bankrupt because of it, personally bankrupt in 2010.
Wow.
And now I'm, now looking back on it, that was way harder than the bankruptcy thing. But I remember sitting there at the when you go to bankruptcy, you go to this meeting where there's a trustee, and they kind of question you under oath to make sure you're not hiding stuff. Mm-hmm. So I sat down in front of this trustee, and I knew him because I was a bankruptcy attorney, and he was the one trustee I didn't want. Some trustees seem harder. They're a little bit, more difficult to deal with. And I was like, I do not want this trustee. Please don't give me this trustee. And then I ended up having him as my trustee. And I sat down, and I was nervous, and my wife was with me, and I felt kind of like I was failing my wife, right? She had worked the whole time I was in law school and helped me get through law school. And now I'm here, and I told her, just don't worry, we'll get through law school. Everything's going to work, because I'm a positive guy. I'm always optimistic. And then I'm here bankrupt. And she was, my wife's an angel, so she would never say a negative word about it to me, but I felt bad about it, right? But I just kept thinking, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to figure it out. And I sat down there, and that was probably the lowest point in my life. That's the rock bottom. I'm sitting in front of this bankruptcy trustee, and before the hearing started, and this guy never talked to anyone before a hearing. He would just, we're here for this matter, blah, really matter of fact. He looked at me and he said, Jeff, I'm sorry you're here.
Oh.
And I thought, my goodness, right in the midst of this terrible spot, there's this one moment of positivity. And since then, I'm not friends with the guy, but we're Facebook friends, and I see him doing stuff, and I have this just great, overwhelming warmth to him, because at the one point where if I was going to have a bad day, it would have been then. He gave me that little tiny positive second that made me pull through. You know, that was the hardest point. And then and like I said before, if my car didn't start, I'd think of a mechanic. But when you're at the very bottom, you know, you've got cancer, you think you might die, you're bankrupt, you don't have any money, you don't have any assets. Actually, I had a negative net worth because my student loans didn't go away and I had my law school debt still. So I'm $100,000 in debt. I have terrible credit. I can't get out of that debt. I have more debt besides that I'm getting out of, but I've got this huge pile of debt, and I'm gonna quit practicing law because I'm just like, I can't do it. I don't want to go in front of bankruptcy trustees anymore because I just admitted I'm bankrupt. And I took a job making $600 a week.
Wow.
I moved across country to Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was living in Michigan at the time. I'm in Chattanooga still. It's been a great move. But from that like tiny seed of, you know, I'm sorry to hear you here, I was able to have a good day that day. And it's just been all uphill since then. You know, I've never gone back down there. I stayed positive. I started getting a few bonuses here and there, and I was able to save up a little money. I bought a condo with a friend of mine. This is 2011, so stuff was really cheap. We bought it for cash. It was $30,000, and I had saved up $20,000, and I put $17,500 into this new company we formed. So I had all my money. I have no credit. I put all my money in. My wife said to me, "If this doesn't work out, we're never investing in real estate again," because it was everything we had. It was literally we couldn't even go bankrupt again because you can't do it. Once you go bankrupt, you can't do it for another 7 or 8 years.
Yeah. Wow.
So we're in this terrible spot where, like, if it didn't work, it'd be really bad. We still own that condo, and we paid 30 for it. When we bought it, it was a bank-owned foreclosure. The mortgage on it was $100,000 before when the bank took it. So we knew it was dramatically undervalued, and it's probably a $150,000 condo now, and we still own it. And you know, it formed the basis of my entire real estate. It's like the cornerstone, right? This one paid off condo, it gave me the motivation to start seeing a couple $100 a month coming in. And I thought, well, I could do that again. So then we bought another condo. Then we didn't have any money left. So we did some private money stuff, and we bought a duplex with private money. And then we had to do some flipping to make some more money so that we could buy more stuff. And we just kept doing that. And in 2017, the company I worked for, so this is 6 years later, the company I worked for decided to sell to a bigger company, and I was out of my job.
Wow.
And a lot of people would think, man, that's terrible, right? And I thought, this is amazing because now I don't have to work and I can focus on real estate all the time. And I've never gone back. So now all I do is real estate and, you know, come on a show here or there, right? And it's so great. And that's when I started doing multifamily. And listen, I made 2 mistakes in my life as far as real estate investing goes. The first one, I didn't start soon enough. I should have started when I was 19 and started thinking about it. Because if I had, I may never have gone bankrupt. I would have had real estate and other assets to pay me when I couldn't run my law firm. And then the second biggest mistake I had is I waited way too long to get into multifamily. I mean, the multifamily thing is just, there's so much, it's just so great. If you do it right, I mean, obviously there's more risk. I mean, you have to know what you're doing, and you got to make sure you get training and understand the risks, but the upside is enormous. That inverse relationship between cap rates and NOI, unbelievable. Forced appreciation. It's like someone just wants to give you money. That's how I think of it. It's almost that easy. And your book, Syndication Made Easy, it had a huge impact on me. I love that book. Yeah. I haven't read your next one yet, but I've got it on my actually it's on my kitchen table right now. I'm going to read it soon. It's only been out a week though, so you have to give me some credit on that.
I appreciate you, Jeffrey. Yeah, thank you so much. Again, my life changed. I was a motivational speaker, engineer, as many of you know, but it changed my life when I decided 14 years back to get into multifamily. It just made sense, to have 20 different homes all over the country or whatever, and having 20 residents in one roof, under 2 roofs or whatever, right? And it just makes sense because even with the bad of the worst times, people are going to need head over, ceiling above,
you need to live somewhere.
They need to live somewhere, and we can really be bringing value to all the different classes, right? D, C, B, A. I don't really invest in A. It's very expensive, of course, but the C's and B's are amazing. But then the other thing which really helped me a lot was the world of syndication. I thought, okay, you know what? I have a little bit money, but if I can pool money together from my friends and investors, and
Sure.
do it legally, SEC world and everything, then it may give me to scale up, right?
Oh
So
yeah, that's been the smartest thing that's another thing we could have probably started sooner. But I'm a big fan of making sure that before you take investor money, you know what you're doing. So, we
yeah,
had this 5-6 years of doing single family stuff. We had about 100 single families, and
right.
that's a hard thing to manage, 100 single families.
Yeah.
And since 2017, we've been pretty much exclusively in multifamily. The first deal we bought was a 12 unit. It was a little bit harder than buying a single family house, but it wasn't 12 times as hard.
Yeah.
And then the 19 unit was about the same hard as the 12, and then the 32 about the same as the 12. So you started to see that scalability. And once we had about 100 units of multifamily, then we were like, you know what, we understand this well enough that we can start taking small capital raises, and that's when we got into syndication. And it's been amazing. To be honest, there are some syndicators I question what they're doing, but there are a lot of good people doing this kind of work, and it's a great way for people, investors, to get involved if they don't want to be like Jeff Holst. They don't want to be like vinneychopra. They don't want to go out and find deals. They just want to find some capital to put into someone else's deal. It can be really great for them. It's a true win-win thing, and I'm all about helping people live a better life. And that's what it does. It helps them live a better life.
So true. What you're just saying, Jeffrey, I really believe that our mission statement of our company, Moneil brand, is, of course, the residents are gold, right at the apartment complex, our communities, we call them, never a tenant, but a resident. I love that. Then investors are gold because they are the ones, they are great professional people. They have made good money in retirement or cash and savings, and they would love to invest so that they could actually get the equity gain. We call it the back end and everything, not a debt partner, but equity partner. And then our team members are gold. I really believe in that. They are the ones who are representing us at all the communities we are vertically, managing and everything. And then our, vendors are gold. I mean, thousands of vendors, their families get great, work and monies and all that. And then comes our family, our lifestyle of the partners and all. So it's a win-win-win-win situation.
Yeah, it's so good for everyone. And if you're a responsible apartment complex owner, you're providing a good quality product for people that don't have somewhere else to live. You're giving them a safe and secure place at a reasonable price. And it's really good for them. I always think, we're at, like I think you said, about 250 units, and that's 250 families that are giving my my life. They're basically donating to me a part of their revenue, and in exchange for that, I'm making sure that they have a better life too. I get a better life, but they need to get a better life also, because otherwise they're just going to leave. This is why you said the different classes of properties. I also don't invest in A class, except for in very limited circumstances, because it's kind of expensive. And I don't do D class because it's hard. The D class stuff is very difficult to provide good quality, safe, secure housing for people. But the B and C class stuff it's very, very, there are some bad operators and there are some good operators. And if you're a good operator, you can really do well in that, and you can really provide for those families an opportunity to live in a safe and secure environment.
So true, so true. And Jeff, I'm sure any of your communities, when people go there, we got to be able to have a good business plan and to be able to have those dollars raised so that we can bring more value to the residents. Make their life so respectful and so good so that they feel like telling other people, hey, come to this community, right?
Waiting lists are gold. You talked about all the residents being gold and stuff, but if you have a waiting list, and we do at several of our properties now have people that are just like, I want to move there. It's such a great opportunity for you, because you're doing something right when people are pretty much begging to get in the door. And of course, then you have quicker turnover time and less expenses, and better quality residents and longer tenures and stuff. And all that stuff adds to the net operating income, which of course raises the value of the property and gives you more opportunities to either to exit at a higher level for your investors or to refinance if it's your own property, or depending on the strategy, even in a syndication, sometimes that's part of the strategy. There's just so much opportunity, and it's so fun too. This is something I think, like, I could just sit back now and just not work. I think you probably could too, right? But I just love putting these deals together. It's so fun. You're helping people across the board, helping, like you said, your employees, contractors, vendors, the people that live there, it's such an amazing thing to be able to help so many people.
It's very rewarding, very rewarding. I mean, Jeff, the big thing is when we send out those quarterly checks, now we are starting to deposit in their accounts, right? And sending the newsletters and other things really makes you feel good. Hey, man, they gave us 100, 200, 400, and then we are giving them, the dividends or the cash checks.
Yeah, and then of course the most exciting part is if you can give them all their money back plus a bunch on the end, and then they're ready to do the next deal with you, so they can still get their quarterly checks or whatever it is, and it's really great. I mean, we haven't exited any of our syndications. We've only done a few, but I see exit strategies all over the place, but I don't. The problem I'm finding right now is, I don't know where to put the money. Like, I know we have small raises and we have only a few investors in most of them. And we talk to them and they say, no, don't sell unless you have something else for us to buy. And so we're being very careful right now about when to sell, even though the market is very strong. It works both ways. It cuts both ways. It's really easy to overpay in a strong market. And I don't want to do that, because first rule for me, never lose an investor's money. Because if you do that, I think it's game over. I don't want to, if I lose my own money, that's one thing, but I don't want to lose your money, Vinney. I just don't want to do it.
So true. Fiduciary responsibility.
That's right.
Our friend, actually, they mailed us $100,000 check, I think 12 years back, and my wife and I couldn't sleep. Next day, we went to them and gave the check back. Literally. We said, we don't want to lose your money. They said, no, we have invested other places and so forth. We are with good conscience. We know that you're going to take good care of our money. And lo and behold, after 12 years later, they've been in so many of my syndications, and their sons and their relatives and friends. So, it's good. It's good to really be a good operator, because fiduciary responsibility is so important. Transparency, fiduciary responsibility.
The transparency is another thing that's really important. If you're struggling with the deal, you just need to tell people. You just get out there and you got to be in front of it and say, "Here's what's happening." We had we bought a retail strip mall with a couple of investors, and for a while it took us a little bit longer to get it rented than we thought, and then coronavirus happened and one of our tenants went under and got out of there. But we've turned it around now, actually turned it around much faster than we thought we would have. But we just, the whole time, this is the situation we're in. Here's what's happening. Here's what we're doing to mitigate it. And everyone was fine with that because they knew about it. And that's the important part. They have to know what's going on. And if you share information, people recognize that these are investments, and like everything, like I said about life, good and bad stuff happens. Same thing with any property. I've never bought a property that didn't have some problem sometime.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, there's going to be something. And if you just focus on the good stuff and you minimize the bad stuff, it's going to work out. Real estate it can be very forgiving as long as you stick to it and you keep your eye on the ball.
So true. Let me ask you a question. Take me to your mornings.
Sure.
How do you set yourself up to have the best day? Every day?
Yeah. Well, so one part of it is that mantra. just reminding myself today's going to be a good day right off the bat. I think that almost every morning, as soon as I wake up and I think, it's a good day. it's so conditioned into me. So that's part of it. I mean, I've done some miracle morning stuff. I mean, I read the book recently again. I'm not perfect at that. I don't like getting up that early. So some days I sleep in, but I try every morning when I get up to at least make sure I take a little bit of time to reflect on what's going on for the day, a little bit of time to reflect on what I want to happen through the day. And then also, I always try to do a little bit of meditation and some prayer. Because I think those things help center you, and that's very important. Especially if you want to be like me and not have bad days, you have to have some guidance in your life, exactly. And you get that by that clarity and guidance from asking for it.
So true, so true. The gratitude, the focus, the true north, like we always have to, just to really make sure that are we centered, are we balanced, are we really focused on the positives for the day. There will be negatives coming, but then the chin up, style to take on, and then in every bad situation, find what's best. It's hard, like you said in the early part of the podcast, which is true. We have to really find ways to take the negatives out, because we have gotten all these neurosurgery, our whole brain is always looking for negative.
Oh yeah, the whole world conditions us to look for negative, right? That's all that we see on the news. It's all that people talk about. People complain more than they express gratitude. It's just it's a natural thing of being a human, and we have to fight that constantly.
So true, so many true. And it's concerted effort. It really is. Starting, it will be difficult. We are in the comfort zone most of the time, the way we think, the way we act, the way we behave. But that's what I was trying to write in the book also, how to really eradicate or get your negatives out, put a shield around us so that we have more space for the positivity. And slowly, when we are looking for that positive, like you did it 25 years back. Hold on.
Yeah, no, you stole the idea from me. I'm going to blame you. No, but it's true. Once you work through that process and you build that shield that you're talking about, I think of it like going to the gym. If you go to the gym one day a week, you get a little benefit. If you go all the time, you get a lot of benefit. If you do all the time long enough, then you're really strong. And then you feel weird if you don't do it. That's what happened to me with positive thinking and happiness and having good days, is that if I didn't have a good day, I wouldn't know what to do with myself anymore. Yeah. That's the part of me. That's what I do. I need to probably apply this to going to the gym every day. I'd be in better shape.
We all do. There are certain goals that we are great at, and then certain, things, life comes on the way. But let me ask you a question then. If somebody is really negative, how can they swing the pendulum?
Yeah, it's difficult. I've had these conversations. I have one friend in particular that's always been very negative, and it gets difficult to even be around people that are negative all the time, right? They start thinking, oh, I should have done this different. It's too late for me. My life's over, whatever. And what I always told him, and I still tell him when I talk to him, is everyone has good and bad happen. You have to just look for the positive, and you have to emulate yourself after people like Vinneychopra, like Jeff Holst, right? Like, I don't mean to tell people that I'm perfect, because I'm not, but if you see one person that has leukemia and goes bankrupt and is a bankruptcy attorney, and they can have good days every day, then you can compare that and say, well, what's going on in my life that's worse than that? And maybe there are people that have worse things going on. I'm not claiming I've gone through everything, but I have a friend who lives in Tanzania. He's a safari guide. And these guys make about $15 or $20 a day when they're working, and they might work 5 or 7 days a month. Wow. So they're making a couple of $100s a month, and their costs are a little lower than ours. Yeah, that's true. But food and stuff is pretty uniform worldwide, how much it costs. So they're spending pretty much all their money just to feed their family. And then coronavirus happens, and now there's no tourism, and there's no money, and there's no social safety net. And I talked to him occasionally. It's hard to communicate even because, the internet connections aren't as good when you don't have money to pay for your cell phone bills and stuff. Right. But I do talk to him occasionally, and he's still positive. And he says he's looking forward to the future, and he's thinking about when the tourism opens back up, all the opportunity that's going to be out there for him, because a lot of the tourism companies aren't going to be around anymore. And he's going, I've got this great opportunity coming, and I need to take advantage of it. And if he can do that, right? And he's you know, I mean, he may be more fortunate than other people in Tanzania because he raises chickens on the side, so he has food at least, right? But the point is, some of the happiest people I've ever met in my life were very poor. They had medical conditions. I always think about Stephen Hawking. I don't know Stephen Hawking. Obviously, he's deceased now, but this guy could only communicate by blowing into a straw, right? He is writing best-selling books on physics. Like, I mean, if that guy can live his life and enjoy it, then we should all be able to live our life and enjoy it. Like, he couldn't even move his fingers.
Wow.
You know, so I mean, and he might have been a negative person. I don't know. But for me, I try to find people that I think are doing interesting and great things with their life. And I think, and especially ones that have gone through tremendous hardship, because I know for me, the stuff I went through has made me a better person. It's made me stronger, and it got me involved in this stuff. I probably would have never bought real estate. I thought about it for 10 years and never did. And then I went bankrupt and went, whoa, I got to do something different. If I hadn't gone bankrupt, maybe I would still be an unhappy lawyer right now. I don't know, right? But I'm not, because of the stuff I went through. And you just got to embrace that and kind of accept that there's a plan for your life, and you only get so much control over it. You don't get to control every variable. You just don't.
Right. So right, what you just said. Oh my gosh, you know, I mean, Jeffrey, a lot of time people say, you know what, I didn't get this right. I didn't get this. I don't have this. I don't have that. We are focusing so many on the empties, which we should not dwell on that. We should look at what we do have, the half glass full and empty and all that. And, you know, something really happened. I'd love to share with the audience. We just had August 15th as the Independence Day of India, you know, where I'm from. And I just saw somebody send me a video of a gentleman climbing the pole. I mean, this was, I think in America or in India, maybe it was like a river, and there was a fence and a pole. And I saw this young man climbing, and I did not see his legs. Hold on. He had no legs. And he was climbing the pole. And then at the end of the pole, he held the pole and got his body like this. And he was wearing the t-shirt of the flag of India.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was such an indelible impression. Look at this person who is so, I mean, what God gave him, right? I don't know how he cut his, you know, something happened to his legs. They were amputated or what happened. But he was climbing, and with his smile, he was just waving the flag of, you know, on Independence Day. He was telling me, hey, I'm independent, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that's the kind of story you have to look for. And if you look for those and you model yourself after people that are doing amazing things like that, then you're going to figure out a way to be positive. Because there's always someone that has it worse than you that's doing it right. You can find the person if you look for them. And, you know, that's actually the main motivation behind Jillian and I's show, is we want to showcase people that are, you know, dealing with different things and how they're dealing with it. That's why we loved having you on the show to talk about your general positive attitude. And you know, I'm sure most of your viewers and listeners already know, but I mean, you arrived in America with $7, and you didn't let it hold you back. You just went out and did what you needed to do to get to where you are now. And, you know, even when I was filing bankruptcy and had thousands of dollars in debt and no assets, I had more than $7 in my pocket. Wow. So, right. I mean, I never got to my last $7.
Sure. No, I think, thank you so much. You know, I think the biggest thing, I hope all the people who are able to watch us or listen to us, please pass this along to somebody that you might have in your circle who's going through some tough time, that they might get some little bit inspiration, you know, from this podcast that we are recording today, you know, to really, because I think this world is, we are here for such a little dot of time, I call it, you know, 100 years in the big scheme of timeline is such a small dot. We should not take ourselves too seriously. We should give ourselves to everybody and take our life to a new level by being positive, by having the right mindset, you know.
100% agree.
You know,
you're exactly right.
You know, Jeffrey, tell us a little bit more, you know, I might not have covered. I really value your time. What else can we give to the world? Because I really believe in the more we give to the universe, the more comes back. You want to
Well,
expand on that? Yeah.
yeah. So no, that's actually the whole reason we started Last Life Ever. We've looked out at the world and said, there are people like, I'm a real estate investor. I have a real estate show, because we talked about it. But not everyone wants to invest in real estate. And maybe not even all of your listeners are listening to listen to you about real estate. They don't necessarily want to do that, but everyone wants to live a good life.
Yeah.
Every person, I think, wants to live a good life. And if they don't, then they have other issues and they need some help too, right? But if you recognize that you want to have a good life, then you have to start thinking like, I have this one chance to get it right, just one time. And if I'm going to only have one shot at it, then I owe it to myself to do the best version of it I possibly can. And I don't think you just owe it to yourself, though. It's not selfish like that. You owe it to your family. If you have children or a wife or brothers or sisters or parents, you owe it to them to live the best version of your life. And then even if you didn't have family, you owe it to your community. Because if you live a good version of your life, other people benefit because of that. And then if you lived on a mountain somewhere by yourself, like, you owe it to the world. So I always say, look, you owe it to yourself, your family, your community, and the world to live the best version of your life possible. And that is something you can only do if you continue to grow. You just have to keep learning, keep studying, keep being positive, and just embrace it. Like you said, don't take yourself too seriously. I hope that I'm around, 50, 60 years from now. If I am, great. But I do know this, 100 years from now, probably no one's going to remember me. Or if they do, it's a little tiny dot on the internet somewhere. And 200, 300, 500, 1,000 years from now, definitely no one's going to remember Jeff Holst. And so I have to live my life right now and not worry about way in the future. Everyone, I think, wants a legacy and all that. I get it. You want to leave something behind, but ultimately all that stuff's going to pass too. What really matters is what's going on in your life right now. And if you had bad stuff in the past, just don't worry about it. It's in the past. It can't affect you anymore. If you don't let it bother you, it doesn't affect you. And if you feel like you haven't accomplished enough, just think about people like Colonel Sanders, right? The KFC guy, 68 years old. He was broke and he decides to start a chicken factory, and he starts making a chicken restaurant at 68 and he dies a multi-millionaire and he gets to be famous and do all this really fun stuff. And I don't know about you, Vinney, but I think it'd be really cool to be known as the guy who makes chicken. It'd be kind of fun. I'd be on TV. It's like being Dave Thomas from Wendy's. If you get to be on commercials and people know you and you walk around signing autographs and stuff, it's fun. It's a good thing to do. And I bet those guys really love their life. And even though they might not have started right away, they didn't, it wasn't too late. They didn't give up. I always say, if you're still alive, you're still breathing, you can still live the best version of the rest of your life.
I love that. What you just said is so true, because every day we get up, it's our birthday. Literally, I look at that way, what happened yesterday, what happened 30 seconds back, what happened half an hour back, we cannot change it. We cannot. So we need to live in the present. And if we take care of the present and live the best life ever, in the present, the future will take care of itself.
That's right. That's right. And the one thing that, I'm not, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about this, obviously. And it's a really interesting book and people should definitely check that out. But the thing that I think is most powerful about what he says is, he says, nothing bad happens to you in the past and nothing bad happens to you in the future. Nothing good happens to you in the past. Nothing good happens to you in the future. Everything that happens to you happens right now, right? It might be in the past now, but it didn't happen to you in the past. It happened to you in that now when you were living that moment. And so you don't really need to worry about stuff in the past. You don't really need to worry about stuff in the future. Yeah, sure. Plan for the future. That's part of living a good now, right? Because that's part of living the best version of today, the best version of this moment. And listen, I know for sure that right now, talking to Vinneychopra, that's the most important thing that's going on in my life right now. I know it is, because that's what's the only thing going on right now. And later I'll be doing something else and I'll remember this and I'll say that was really fun, but I'll be more focused on whatever I'm doing right then. And if you do that, you're going to just enjoy everything. You just have to embrace it. Even the bad stuff, you look at it and go, it's not so bad. I'm just going through this and later I'll do something else. That's it. And you just look for positive and recognize you just keep growing. Just keep growing until you're dead.
So true. I mean, you just said the essence of life. I think bliss. People like say, I want to be happy. I want to be happy someday, but it's in today's moment. What you just said a little while back is so true. When we are immersed into an activity, whether we are with the family, we are with the business people, we are in the meetings, or wherever we are, we need to totally consume ourselves in that moment so that we can do the best version of our acting, thinking, planning, whatever we want, right? So that we can give the best of the best to everybody and respecting them, their time, their listening, all that. It's so important. That's a universal life principle. Thank you, Bud. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure, man. I can have you for hours. Jeffrey.
I know, that went very fast. It did not seem, of course, we'll see if the listeners agree, but for me, I feel like I feel like we're just saying the same thing back and forth to each other because we're so much in agreement. And it's so great to meet someone who understands what I'm talking about. Because a lot of people, they just don't get it. They have to hear it many, many times to understand. And so, yes, they should go read your book. I'm excited to do it even more than ever right now. And just get out there and be positive.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Jeff. I really want to thank you. And listeners, if you have not seen that or watched me, please go for it. It's The Positivity Brings Profitability. My other book, which I wrote last year, which became top seller. I couldn't believe it. International top seller, Apartment Syndication Made Easy. And if you do like, I know my team kind of gives me some things to read here. If you like what you have heard on today's episode and the benefits of owning and investing into real estate and the mindset, that's what friend Jeff Holst talked about. Jeff, how can people reach you, bud?
So obviously the best place is to join our Facebook group, The Last Life Ever. So it's Last Life Ever / private group on Facebook. And we do our Last Life Ever podcast live in there. So when we bring people on, like Vinney Chopra, you can actually ask him questions in real time. But that's great. Otherwise, they can just go to my website, jeffreyholst.com.
Jeffreyholst.com. Thank you. You've added so much great nuggets about mindset, about how to really think positive and how to make that one commitment you made 25 years back and you have never looked back, and every day is a great day for you. I hope audience got so much out of it. If anybody would like to reach me, Vinney Chopra, you could go to my website, vinneychopra.com for more information. If you would like to invest with us, please visit vinneychopra.com/invest. My team will get in touch with you. I will get in touch with you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment and share this episode if you found value, and if you find and you think that someone else that you know may be able to learn from this episode, please share it and give us a 5-star review if you think that we have done a good job. Jeff, thank you so much, brother. It's such a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you in Chattanooga someday. I really would love to have the bourbon together. It'll be fantastic.
We'll make it happen sometime. Thanks so much for having me on.
We will. God bless you. And you take care, brother. Take care. Bye-bye.
Be sure to listen to Mr. Smiles next week with more golden nuggets and top-notch coaching tips. You can reach him by going to vinneychopra.com. Be sure to like, comment, and share to show everyone how Mr. Smiles has brought your apartment syndication business to the next level.